Olá, Dinastia. A gente tá aqui com o Mick Garris. Eu tô assim, ó, tremendo um pouquinho, ó. Só porque ele é o criador de um dos meus filmes favoritos, que é o, que é o Hocus Pocus. So, you are Stephen King. It's the one that have more adaptations of his story nowadays. My friend says all days, because
Yes.
and you have a long time relationship as friendship. And how it was to work with him, and if you have a favorite project.
Well, working with Stephen King is the best thing you can do. He's so much fun. He's a total cheerleader, supporter, wonderful guy, very generous, never ever tells you how he thinks you should do something. And every time I've worked with him has been great. The times I've worked closest with him is on The Stand and on The Shining miniseries, where he was actually on the set for a good half of each of the productions. The one that is probably the nearest and dearest to my heart, maybe not the best, I don't know, that's not for me to say, but is a movie I made called Riding the Bullet. It's a little independent film that was based on a short story, so there was a lot of room to expand and to turn it into something very personal, which is what I did.
And how do you see the evolution of the horror cinema?
It's constantly changing. People will have a hit. The Sixth Sense was a hit 20 years ago, and people started making more ghost movies. And then there was Paranormal Activity, and suddenly tons of found footage movies. And then zombies, and nothing but zombies. So to me, I can't imagine. The only thing worse than another zombie movie is a found footage zombie movie. Just enough already. But one of the great things about it is that it's constantly in a state of evolution. And now there's what they call elevated horror, which is a terrible name for horror that's meant for adults and that's not for teenagers and children and all that stuff. But it's always changing, always evolving, and when it stops is when I lose interest. So I think we're at a fascinating time. I'm excited to see what's next because I can't predict it. Teenage horror is something I'm not interested in. Maybe you can tell by the color of my hair. But I'm just fascinated to see where it goes in as many directions as possible. And it's one of the reasons I go to festivals around the world, because I want to experience what's going on outside of my country.
We are a geek page, so I have to ask you that. What is like working as remote control for R2D2?
Well,
Sorry, I have to do it.
It's the only time I've ever been to the Oscars, and the only time I ever will. It was amazing. My first job was as a receptionist for the original Star Wars, so I answered phones. Star Wars, may I help you? And I worked my way up into doing personal appearances with R2D2. And it was an opportunity, and it was great. I had so much fun. It was really fantastic. It was a little, like they do remote control airplanes with these two dials and knobs that you would fiddle around with. Well, not exactly. Well, sort of, yeah. It was joysticks, yes. And that was how he operated. And this is back in 1977. So it was a pretty amazing time.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Way before you were born.
Yes. Or not, I'm kidding. And how is being the reception of Brazilian fans? And if it's your first time here?
It's my second time in Brazil. It's my first time in Sao Paulo, and the reception has been unbelievable. The people are so kind and so loving and so enthusiastic and passionate about the genre. And, when you go someplace and people know your work, it's always surprising, but really fantastic. Yeah, it's been great.
This is a question of a Hocus Pocus fan.
Hocus Pocus? What's that?
I love this movie.
Yeah, I have never heard of it.
Never. What's the difference from working from the scary movies that is not for kids? Like Hocus Pocus is a Halloween kids from Disney. What's the difference between them?
It's still a scary movie.
I know. I was watching this adult now, and I was like, how can I watch this when I was a kid?
Yeah.
And not get scary. I love that movie.
Well, it's fun. We knew going in that this was a Disney movie.
Yes.
And for me, being 12 years old, was such a great time. Now, the script that I wrote, the kids were 12, not 16. So that's the major difference between what I wrote and what happened with the 11 writers after me. But, Halloween, not so much in Brazil, but in the United States, it's huge. And when I was a kid, it was so important to me. And I was an odd kid anyway, into the creepy stuff. My grandmother used to say, what's all that creepy stuff going to do for you? And I said, well, how about giving me a career? Yeah. So,
Well, Grandma.
yeah. But yeah, we knew it was going to be a Disney movie. It goes, remember in Disney movies, in Bambi's mother is burned up in a fire. So you can get dark.
Dumbo,
Yeah,
so
Dumbo.
sad.
Oh, way too sad. So you can get dark in a Disney movie if you do it with the right sense of humor. And, it's about a kid who's dead and his sister is dead and she's a ghost. And Thackeray Binks, his soul is trapped in a cat. It goes
brilliant.
there.
It's
Well,
brilliant.
I don't know about that.
No,
but-
it's
well, the idea was David Kirshner, the producer, who came up with it, and his idea was brilliant. Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
A
you.
pleasure.